Captain Marvel is the 21st, I think, film in the MCU. It's the latest MCU film that we're getting before Avengers Endgame, which I'm pretty sure everyone is excited for. And it tells the story of Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. She's past this alien race called the Kree, and the Kree are in this massive intergalactic war with another alien race called the Skrulls. One day she crash lands on Earth, and she starts to figure out the fact that she might have had history on Earth. She has fragments of memories that basically give her clues to the fact that she might have lived on Earth, she might have had a life on Earth. And it's essentially the story of her figuring out who she was while also dealing with this alien race between the Kree and the Skrulls. And I enjoyed Captain Marvel. I'm not going to get into any of the backlash, controversy, internet trolls doing stuff with reviews. I really don't care about any of that. I'm judging this solely based on the quality of the film, and I liked Captain Marvel. It's not one of the best MCU films. It does sort of fit firmly into the formula that they've set up. It does follow that formula pretty much the whole way through, and it's not one of the major exceptions to the rule like Black Panther, which sort of came along and it was this whole big cultural event. But yeah, it's not one of the worst ones, it's not one of the best ones, it's just a good, solid MCU film. So Captain Marvel is played by Brie Larson in this film, and I really liked her in the role. Whatever flaws that I have with the character of Captain Marvel, I can put aside for now, because I really did like what Brie Larson did in the role. She's snarky, she has a good sense of humour, I liked her one-liners. I'll get into more of the flaws that I have with the character in a bit, but Brie Larson is good. Again, I said that it fits into the MCU formula, and by that I mean that it sets up this alien world, and you know, there's text at the bottom of the screen that says where you are, and we jump from place to place. Lots of MCU films do that, but I like it. You know, Captain Marvel did it very well. It set up the world. It was believable. I bought into the this battle between the Kree and the Skrulls, and it just immersed me in a new world, and as long as an MCU film can do that, I'm happy. I'd say that the thing that I liked the most about the film was the mystery behind her past. There's this whole memory loss thing, there are fragments in her head, and I really enjoyed piecing together all these different things. I liked that this film actually had a good mystery. It's probably my favourite plot to an MCU film, just based on the strength of the plot since Winter Soldier, I'd say, because that was a mystery film of sorts. That was like a Cold War era spy thriller, and I really like that. And again, I like the fact that an MCU film has gone the mystery route, and I really like the plot of this film. There are lots of twists and interesting narrative developments, and I really enjoyed how it all fell together. And early on in the film, I was thinking to myself, okay, this is how it could go, and then it didn't go the way that I thought it would, and it went a completely different way, and I just enjoyed all the twists and turns and mystery elements that this film had. I also really like the fact that it's essentially a prequel to the Avengers. The de-aging for both Nick Fury and Agent Coulson, who is also in this film, it's absolutely insane. When you don't even realise that it's CGI, that's when you know that it's good. So the film basically sets up the events of the Avengers, or the MCU in general, because it's set in the 90s, and as a result, it's set before the events of Iron Man, before the whole MCU started. And I loved how tiny little things tied into the greater Avengers things. You know, small details, but sometimes prequels just do that for the sake of having, fan service. But I really liked how everything they did tied into the greater MCU. I also really liked the interplay between the characters. I loved how by the end of the film we have so many different distinct personalities. Ben Mendelsohn plays the main Skrull in this film. You know, they're the other alien race in the battle between the Kree and the Skrulls. He's hilarious in this film. It's such a nice change of pace for Ben Mendelsohn, because oftentimes he just plays the villain, and he's this over-the-top, campy villain. And I really like the fact that he sort of toned it down. I liked where they took his character, and he's really funny as well. I like the interplay between Carol Danvers and Nick Fury. Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson have good chemistry. And for a solid part of the film, it's basically like a buddy cop mystery fun action film between the two of them. And as more and more characters are introduced into the film, I really liked the group dynamic, and by the end of the film you've got all these different people, and I loved how they all played off each other. In terms of character and plot, this film really isn't conventional at all. I'd say it's just in terms of visual style and the chase scenes and the action scenes that it let me down a bit. This is directed by Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, who primarily have done indie films, and I always love it when big studios take risks and give indie filmmakers big, massive $200 million superhero films. But I was a bit let down by some of their fight scene choices. Aside from one really cool one in the first act where Captain Marvel has to punch her way out of this prison cell that she's in, I didn't think that the fight scenes were very effective. The second act does drag a bit. The fight scenes are less interesting and exciting. They're much more obligatory. I wasn't really invested in it at all. There's this one chase scene on a train, which sort of just felt like it was there just for the sake of having an action scene. It just wasn't very interesting or exciting at all. The cinematography also isn't very interesting. It's very, lots of whites and pales, and nothing really popped. Aside from the CGI in the first and third act, the second act really is where the film struggles a bit. But I really like the first act and I really like the third act, so I can look past the second act. There are some very silly moments as well. It does try to be fun and light-hearted, but some jokes just don't land, and there are some very silly moments that sort of detracted from the more serious and interesting parts of the plot. Also, in terms of Carol Danvers' actual character, I wish that she had a bit more personality. Most of the time she enters scenes and she has the exact same sort of smug, cocky face, and I like that about her character. I like the fact that she could snap back with good one-liners and that she had a sense of humour. I just wish that we knew a bit more about her, or that she showed a more wide range of emotion. So yeah, all in all, a good MCU film. It's a very solid one. It's not one of the great ones. Having rewatched Black Panther, I really, really enjoy Black Panther now. So compared to Black Panther, compared to Infinity War, it doesn't really hold up against them. I would say this is more like an Ant-Man and the Wasp type film, as in fun, but not one of the best. I'm going to give Captain Marvel a B-. So yeah, I'm sure you've all probably seen Captain Marvel by now. If you're a fan of the MCU, you definitely have. Sorry for getting this review out quite late. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Captain Marvel. Stay tuned for more videos in the future. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And until the next time, goodbye.